Good morning, fourth grade. This morning you will be finishing up your Ted Harrison landscapes. I'm so excited to see what they look like when they're finished. To start with our Ted Harrison landscapes, we're going to add some detailing on our mountains, and we're going to be using white oil pastel to do this. So you should have a couple of little oil pastels in your box. What we're going to do is we're going to create an outline in between and around each of our mountains and hills to create some more contrast between them so we can really see the different colors that we used for them. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that you are staying right on the line in between the two colors because you don't want to actually have some of that blue showing on this side of the line. If that does happen, you can take your line and you can kind of thicken it in a little bit, but you really want to try to make sure that you are staying right on top of that line. You also want it to be a nice solid line so we can't really see through it. And you can see even just doing that first one, how that creates a lot of contrast between the mountain and the sky. So now I'm going to go in and do the next one. You want to start at the top of your mountains and work your way down so that you can create your overlap. This mountain is in front of this one, so I want to make sure that that line, oops, broke my oil pastel. I want to make sure that that line comes in front, separating this one from this one. And then I know that this is my next one in line, so I'm going to go to this one. And then my last one on this side is this longer one. And you can see I just turned my paper to help me follow that line. I'm also going to use this white line to separate the hills from the water. So along my horizon line or wherever your horizon line is, you'll want to go ahead and separate that. Now I'm going to jump down to the hills at the bottom of my paper. And I'm going to do my outline on those. Perfect. All right, so now we can see all the beautiful values that I made, and I'm ready for the next step. We're going to add some texture into the water to make it look like the water is flowing. We're going to still be using the white oil pastel, but we want to this time make sure we're using it really gently and we're not pressing down very hard. All of our lines that we make are going to go horizontal across the paper. This is going to make the water look like it's flowing across the paper. If you make your lines go vertical, you're going to end up making it look like the water is falling, and we didn't draw waterfalls in this picture. So we want to make sure we're going horizontal. So I'm just going to take this and just lightly, very lightly draw some lines in my water. If you end up with a line that's too dark or you don't like it, you can always take your finger and just kind of blend it out a little bit. That's the great thing about using oil pastels for this step, is that you can kind of blend and smooth if something that you don't like. You can't erase it. Don't try to use an eraser on it. But you can use your finger to kind of blend and smooth that out. And now you can see it looks like the water kind of flowing across my paper. Great. Done with this step, we're going to move on to the last step, which is adding silhouettes. And a silhouette is a dark outline or shape of an object when the light is behind it. So here is a sheet of silhouettes, and you will all get one of these from the sub. What you're going to do is you're going to be cutting these out and then putting them into your landscape. Now, I don't expect you to use all of them because that is way too many, but you can pick out the ones that you like. You can also pick out the ones that you're able to cut out. They're pretty tiny, and some of them are really tough to cut out. I know I tried to cut out one of these little ones, these little birds, ended up cutting off his wing. So if it's too small for you to cut out, then just switch to some of the bigger silhouettes. It's not a big deal. We're also going to cut out the moon. This right here is our moon for our picture. So I'm going to start with that. The easiest way to cut these is to start by separating the silhouette that you want. So I've taken my picture of my moon and I've separated it from the big paper and then go ahead and cut it out. Now for the moon, because I don't really want that kind of black outline around it when I put it down my paper, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over so it's just the white part. And then I can decide where in my sky I want it to be. I could put it over here. I can move it towards the center. I could put it down here close to the hills. Now, it'd be silly if it went over the hills, so don't put it over the hills. I'm going to put it up just high enough so that it's still in the sky. And I think it looks pretty good there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. Remember when you're gluing that we use our small grandma kisses? Open up that orange part. Just a few drops of glue on the object that you're gluing down. I'm going to use about 4 drops for this one. Flip it over. And then just kind of hold it in place for a few seconds. The glue is not going to dry right away. If I pull this up right now, it's still going to be wet. So we have to leave it on there and kind of press down until it starts to dry and stick. All right, then I'm going to move on to one of my silhouettes. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with the bear for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and separate out the bear. And then I'm going to cut him out. Now you can use as many of the silhouettes as you want, but again, I don't recommend using all of them. I would say 2 or 3 silhouettes is all you need to really complete your picture. When you get into areas like these legs that are pretty tough to cut out, I like to go ahead and start on one side cutting in towards that corner. And then instead of trying to turn my paper and go this way, I'm going to take my scissors out and start on the other leg and cut in again towards the center. And that's going to allow that little piece to just kind of fall out. All right. I've got my first silhouette. Now I'm going to decide where to put him. I need him to look like he's part of my picture. So I want to make sure that I put him somewhere on one of the hills. You don't want to have him just floating in the center of your mountain like this because that's really strange. So his feet are going to be near the line on one of my hills. I could have him realistically, if I really wanted to, I could put him up here, but that looks a little bit silly. You could also move him a little bit closer if you wanted to have him kind of walking on the snow down here. That makes a lot, can't see it. If you wanted to have him walking along the snow down here, he could be walking down here. But you kind of have to think about where does he look best in the picture. And the silhouettes on the darker ones aren't going to show up as much as they do on the lighter ones. So I'm going to put this bear down here and I'm going to have him kind of overlapping the snow and the water like that to give some more contrast. When you glue these down, you want the dark side to be up. You don't want it to be a white silhouette. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on my silhouette and I'm only going to use maybe 3 drops of glue. And I'm not going to try to put the glue all the way down to his feet. Those don't necessarily need to be stuck down all the way. We just need the main part of his body stuck down. If you try to put it on his feet and all those little areas, you're going to end up with a big mess. So again, I put him down, kind of hold him for a few seconds. And then there he is. Also think about the way the objects are looking. If you have all of your characters looking one direction, it might look a little bit strange. So maybe you choose one that's going the other direction. I will tell you, I cut out this deer on my other project and I ended up cutting off his antlers, which is okay. If you have to leave part of it out, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to go ahead and cut out the dog next. And I'm going to put him a little bit farther back in my picture. All right, I am finished with my Ted Harrison inspired landscapes. Now, don't forget, after you are finished, you've glued down your silhouettes, you've done your outlines, you need to take a picture and submit it on Canvas. Then you need to make sure you put your messy mat and your painting on the drying rack so that all of these silhouettes can finish drying and so that I can see them on Monday when I get back. All right, friends, have a great afternoon. I will see you when I get back. Bye.